everyone, I'm Steve. Mark's working late tonight, and this is Smokey Steve and Mark. Either welcome or welcome back, and happy Thursday. Almost a Friday. We're getting there. So I hope everyone is well. I hope everyone is safe. Look after yourselves. That's the PSA, I guess, for today. Self-care is important. It is freezing here. It is creeping in We apparently have lousy weather stripping. It's probably about 20, and it's windy. That's relatively cold for here at any time of the winter. So, staying bundled up. Oscar is good. He's in his hutch with the heating pad, the animal heating pad. And he's okay. And should things get chillier, we have a safe plan to bring him inside, so he and Bandit are both groovy. So, we're keeping that in mind today, watching the weather. So today we will have another story time. Actually, this story time is inspired by the response from 2 weeks ago's story time, where I talked about food in prison. Prison to me is an interesting thing to talk about because it depends on your perspective. Some people, I think, would probably meet me and think, of course he's been in jail, look at him. And others might think, not at all. And that's kind of probably like a reading of stereotypes. People might have an idea in their head of what a person who spent time in jail for any amount of time might look or sound like. But keep in mind, all of us are only about 2 or 3 bad decisions away from destroying our lives and then having to start over. Granted, I made probably a few thousand bad choices. I had a lot of breaks I could have taken, but nevertheless. So today's jail story, we talked about prison food at first. I wanted to talk about the men in jail, because in jail, it was mostly men. I was on a men's block. I was with men who had committed at the jail level, the county jail level. I was not in state prison, and I'll talk about the gentlemen that were later. I do have some notes, so there might be some glare. Talking about jail, I was in a few times, and this is observations I made during a 3-month period during the summer of 2009, where I was incarcerated. It had been my second DUI in the year 2008, so I had 2 within 6 months. So I was charged with my second one, and I had a 5-year sentence, 90 days of which had to be served in jail. So, just to kind of, how can I put this diplomatically? I can only tell you what I saw. I can only tell you what I observed, and I was surrounded by men for 90 days. So, when you're immersed in people who maybe participate in the informal economy, or who don't have the best relationships with their ex-wives, or things like that. It's a lot of different personalities coming together all at once, from a lot of different places, for a lot of different reasons. Just to give you a preview, if you haven't seen my other jail video, the first time I was in Long Island. It was in Suffolk County, and I was staying in Riverhead. You may have seen it on MSNBC. But when I was there, it was my first time in jail. I was very scared. I had only ever seen gay people traded for cigarettes on, like, Oz, and I didn't understand state prison, county jail, how all the systems worked. So all I had in my head was that I was going to be used, raped, left, whatever. So I talked to my public defender, and they put me into protected custody, and I didn't know what that meant until I found out that it was unsavory people, even within the jail population, who were locked in their cells 23 hours a day. So coming into this next situation where I was going to be there for 3 months was a little different because it's 3 months and I was going into the general population. I figured I can't do PC again. So I'm just going to suck it up. There's no reason for me to get special consideration to go anywhere. I'm just going to go do my thing. And so we'll see. So it was like getting into a hot tub, because when I first I was sentenced right from the courthouse. So I was there in, like, my tie and shirt, thinking because I look nice and I have a nice vocabulary, I'm not going to jail. Don't matter. They take me down to holding, and then they take me over to the jail. And they took my tie, and I never saw it again. Lackawanna County PD. COs, whoever you are. And then I was brought over to the jail. And you're in classification when you get to the jail. Sorry, quick break. So you're in classification when you get to the jail, and they put you into a 2-man cell on a block, which is just a bunch of cells put together. Could be different sizes, different genders, all that kind of stuff. And you have to stay for a couple days until your tuberculosis test comes back clean. At least that was the policy at the jail that I was in. Also, if you were going through any sort of detox from particularly alcohol, or benzodiazepines, you would stay until you were detoxed and put into the general population. So 2 days I stayed, and then I go into the block. Now, just for some quick math, there was 90-ish men. You can check my math. There was 6 cells, 3 on the top tier, 3 on the bottom tier, 16 men to a cell. So there was a lot of us. There were 8 bunk beds in each cell. So 16 men. It was full. It was a full house. And just to give you an idea of what the dorms were like, obviously there wasn't going to be one, toilet in each 16-man cell. There's no privacy. At the end of each tier, there was like 2 or 3 toilets and a shower. And that was it. We had to share. So some of us got really close really fast. Again, it was what was called the dorms at the time. And there was DB and DC, and these 2 blocks were right next to each other. And people who were like making moves and hustling were pushing stuff under the doors because the tiers were right next to each other. I don't know. I put off, now I have to say when I got there, I was a little scared because they can smell fresh meat. And I had been to jail before, but I wasn't surrounded by that many people before. And people can smell you out quick. And I suspected they were going to smell that I was gay early, and they did. I did another video about being gay in jail. It's actually one of the more popular ones, the most popular one on the channel, or the most viewed, maybe not the most popular. But that's like a different topic. I have a nice story about my straight male crush in jail, but that's maybe for another time. The guys who were there, I couldn't read. I had no idea. I did notice, and if this were another kind of channel, I would do a whole topic about it, that while I was on treatment court, 99% of it was white. No joke, 99% of it. And when I went to jail, half the jail was black. So at any rate, if this was another kind of channel, at any rate. So I put off getting that first shower for as long as I possibly could without going, unnoticed, because I don't like public showers. I'm very bashful. Body image. And now maybe you're thinking, what do you care? It's a bunch of guys. Guys don't look at guys like that. Yeah, but I look at guys like that, so I know. Out of 90 men, do you think I was the only gay one on the block? Statistically, it doesn't even make sense. So, no, I wasn't careful. Now, luckily, men being men and men being insecure, as that shook down over the shower period, only one guy at a time, for the whole time I was there, except once, would get into the showers. There was enough for 2 shower heads and a handicap stall on the first one. One guy in the shower at a time. Nobody would ever go in twice. 2 at a time. It was just not done. So, and as much as that freaked me out a little bit, you've never seen someone shower so fast. Military showers, I'd get in there and it was this hot mist. It's like when you're in the hospital, it's not a stream of water, it's this hot mist, and you're trying to wash the shampoo out of your head like this. Which will go into grooming in jail, which I will talk about momentarily. So I was more scared of actually the towel cast system of getting in the shower, because there's the shower door, the door that leads into the stalls, and you put your towel up, and then your towel shows that you're next, but this person always goes first because they're a block worker, and you go after them, but you're from that cell, and you go last. I didn't know any of this. I was bound to get hit. I was sure. So talking about the men on the block. So in these 90 men that I was with, roughly, it's not even 90, I'm probably way off. There was, as I observed among the other inmates, an alpha. There was one single alpha male. He had done state prison time, and has now come back to the county jail and thinks he runs everything because he's done state time. And to a degree, he's right. Not that he needs to come back and treat 20-year-old drug addicts like they're his slaves, but he has spent time probably in different places. Was his chest as puffed out when he was there? I don't know. But it's making him feel like a big man here. So, okay. Now, going into each of the 6 cells, there was an alpha male as well, it seemed. We had one in my cell, who was the straight guy crush. And then there was one in each of the other cells, who all seemed to be broken down by maybe some kind of common characteristics, like my cell and the one right below us, that would be 32 of us, were mostly these bewildered young addicts who were just arrested on either petty charges. I knew how long I was going to be there. I was there 3 months. Most other people weren't sentenced yet. So they were on pins and needles. They were scared. The cell next to us on the top tier, I don't know what they all had in common, except almost nobody spoke English as a first language. That's all I could figure. And then the cell next to us on the other side were all Bloods. And then downstairs and to the right, there was like handicap and older people. And then bottom left, there was Bloods, but they did their own thing from the other blood. I don't know. Something like that. So, alphas. And then there was hustlers. They were another subgroup. Hustlers, hustle. Always making moves. With soups, as we talked about. With food. With tobacco, if it's coming through the prison. Certainly drugs, if they are too. Drugs used to come and tobacco in and out of the prison because there was another block, DA, which is next to DB, where I was. And they would go out to the local recycling center and sort trash. It was work release. And at work release, they were in the community and came back to the jail. And depending on where you're willing to put things to bring them back in the jail, some stuff made it through. And depending on what you're willing to smoke, chew, or shoot, wherever it's been on said man who's brought it back into the jail. You know what I mean? Okay. So, also there's the guys who play spades. All day. Every day without break. Chow in the morning, which is anywhere between 5 a.m. and 7. It's early. Then they play spades. They play spades till count, and then till lunch, and then till 3 o'clock count, and then till dinner. And then we have to lock it up around 7 or 8 or so, I would remember. And then they might stop then. All day with the headphones and playing. Like, if you want to keep busy, play spades. Don't cheat! I've seen blood over spades. Cheating is not good. I know it seems like honor amongst thieves, really, but, like, there are certain rules that don't apply to anybody on the outside, but when you're in an all-male situation, incarcerated, in tight living, there's things that you wouldn't think would be deal breakers that are big, big deals. So aside from the guys doing spades, the alpha, the cell alphas, and the hustlers, there's the middle-aged guys who seem to spend half a year, every year, in for child support, or non-payment of child support. 6-month clips. Every 6 months, they're in, they're out, because they don't pay it. Can they not pay it? Will they not pay it? I don't know if you can sit off child support time. I think you have to go work it off in the county that I live in. I don't think you get away with it. I think you actually get sentenced to do work release, and they take like $20 off of the 14 grand you owe your, something like that. There were the guys who've done state time, not unlike the block alpha guy, who was so mean. The guys who did state time either didn't want to talk about it because they were over jail stuff, and this was like daycare compared to state prison, and from what I understand, it was. Or they wanted to tell you all about it nonstop and make themselves sound like they handled some big stuff when they were probably somebody's, rag when they were in. But just to puff their chest out and posturing. It's a hyper-masculine environment, as you can imagine. So everybody wants to be the tough one, the strong one, not the bitch. I want the one in control, the one to be afraid of, the one who has the most stuff, the one that. And gendered, okay, nobody gossips more than men. Nobody. And it's true. This one runs into the cell and says something. Whisper, whisper, whisper. This one runs out. These two whisper. They run into 2 other cells and go tell this one. Next thing you know, there's a fight after lights out, and it was thrown together in like 10 minutes. Over probably nothing. Probably ramen noodles. That somebody spit in somebody's, or they didn't clean their container correctly. I don't know. And then, like I said, you had the young addicts, like us, who were just bewildered, who end up watching all the fights and kind of cowering in the corner. We ate our trays in our rooms because there was no room for all the called tables in the day room to go eat. So we take our chow, go to our cell, eat, and then one person would designated bring them all back. Now, gay in jail. As to this place being a meat market, okay. Because it's been suggested, and yes, gay porns have jail fantasies in them. Porns have all sorts of fantasies in them. A handful of the gentlemen in jail and some casual observers said, well, that must be like a dream for you. Because it's all men, and it's all prisoners. Not all prisoners look like strippers. Okay. Not all prisoners are attractive. Not all prisoners are slaves to hygiene at first. They usually are later. There are some that think they are God's gift to everyone. and will work out nonstop and flex. And more so than that, they would watch to see if I was watching them working out, which of course I was because there was nothing else to do. And they didn't tell me to stop looking at them. So I got 90 days to kill when I was single at the time. Okay? So, that was, yeah. It wasn't quite the meat market. I mean, a guy who would say to me, this must be like a real treat for me, and then dries his face with a dirty sock. It's not. It's not a treat. Though, the corrections officers said, don't get too down on yourself, which was, I don't know if he thought that I was depressed about it. I was like, no, it's just not as, it's not bad, it's just not Wonderland. This isn't a gay man's wet dream here. It really, really isn't. He said the women's cells were worse. He said if you want to deal with all sorts of issues and drama and hygiene and other things, he said go work on the women's tier. He said it's a totally different space to work. I was like, oh, okay, I guess it couldn't be bad. He said the guys' cells are actually a lot more chill because people just kind of leave each other alone for the most part. Hygiene, as long as we're talking about this meat market. Now, there were some guys who kept themselves up very well, and they looked very good. And I suspect it wasn't for the 1.5 hour visit a week from their child's parent. So what were they doing it for? I don't know. We could shave every day if we wanted to. I shaved once a week because, and I would shave before visits, so it looked good. Like my parents thought I was doing okay. So if I had like 3 weeks worth of beard, they'd be worried. But the other guys would every day shave, every day, do their eyebrows. One guy, we were trying to thread his hairline, I remember, using I don't know what. And ingenuity, in jail is quite a thing. I've seen, I could light a cigarette with a AA battery if I have to. I learned that because that comes up a lot, maybe in a blackout. But there's men being men, though. I found many of them to be very prideful. Either by nature or because of the situation that they were in, they felt like they had to be strong or assertive or don't ever let anyone see you cry or X, Y, and Z. And I saw plenty of those guys cry. And no one says anything. They just walk past and maybe one guy will say, yo, you good? And that's guy talk. That's how it goes. I'm not suggesting that men should behave any differently. I'm just saying this is how they behave when there's no women around towards each other. Now, being prideful takes a few different tones. Now, I said before, because I'm guessing because I'm gay, and actually, my masculinity is not super, super important to me. I wouldn't say that I'm flaming exactly. You may disagree. But I'm not offended by, it's not important to me if someone thinks I'm a tough guy. I don't care exactly. And I think they would catch on to that. So, like I said before, like Counselor Troy, folks would come over and they would sit on my rack and would talk about their case or about their girlfriend or about a letter they got or something. And they'd be sad, and I'd mostly listen and then give them a hard candy, and off they'd go. That's a big deal. It didn't occur to me at the time. I'm like, we're not in a therapeutic setting. This is jail. It's kind of a big deal for people to come over and cry to you in jail, especially when they don't know you very well. It's a weak gene, my mother says, that we tend in my family to attract people who have challenges and need someone to tell about those challenges immediately, and they need to unload. But there was other things guys had asked for help too, and they do it in a very quiet way. They would either find me alone on the tier, and depending on how the guy looked, I thought, what the hell does he want? Does he want to beat me up? Does he want to meet me in the shower? Do I owe him money? Does he think I'm someone else? And they'd come over real quiet in a voice and like, yo, you good at math? I'm like, well, actually, I'm okay. I mean, I finished. Yeah, I'm okay at math. Not great. They're like, I gotta take the GED. Could you show me it? Could I show you math? Like math? Like not specific problems, math. Like, but that takes a lot to suck up and go to someone that you don't really know and risk being talked about or called stupid to say, can you help me do something? There's another guy who asked me to write a letter to his girlfriend. And I thought, I'm no poet, but whatever. And what he wanted was he couldn't really write very well. He could speak, he could read, but he couldn't write very well. I asked, he showed me something he had written, and like, I'm thinking, I'm not a reading learning disabilities. He looked dyslexic. All the words were spelled correctly, but in the wrong, I don't know. So I was like, yeah, sure, I can help you with that. And then we had the hepatitis C discussion about how it's transmitted. And I had this discussion with 12 needle dependent drug addicts, people with substance use disorder who were all IV drug users. And only 3 of them realized that it was tough. It was tough. But bottom line, most of the guys were nice. Most of them were nice. And a lot of them I saw after we got out of jail. Oh, I left a whole crew out. The corrections officers. Okay, like 2 of them were cute. Now that's another, the men in jail. 2 of them were cute. Most of them were nice, I think undertrained. A lot of them seemed very new. I don't know if the turnover rate's very high. A lot of them were crooked. Come to find out, about 8 of them were arrested for taking advantage of female prisoners. And some of them pled no contest. A couple were found guilty. You could smell scumbag on some of those guys from a mile away. You're just waiting for them to get caught because they live in perma-smirk and they don't do anything. I mean, the corrections officers on 3rd shift would put newspaper over the bubble, like the one office, because there was one corrections officer assigned to all 90 of us at a time. They'd cover it so their cameras couldn't see that they weren't working and they would go to sleep. So I should be so lucky to retire and be a corrections officer on 3rd shift. I'm sure there's many that do great work. More than not, I've met did great work, and they were always open. Well, that's a lie. 2 of them weren't. Most of them were receptive to me saying, they pull me aside in the, if anyone's giving you shit for anything, you let me know. As if I would do that. Like, I'm going to go to the corrections officer and say, they're picking on me for being gay. Like, yeah, I want that. I want that on me. I want to walk right into the bubble and then everyone get lectured the same evening by the corrections officer. How about no? My birthday came and went during that 3 months. I didn't tell a fucking person. You don't want no attention on yourself. No. So, and this is the last part. And this is not so much in the men in jail gay sexual thing. This is just a men in jail thing that's very interesting. And it may or may not make sense. Okay, so hygiene is extremely important. Tidiness is extremely important. It will be fought for. It will be fought for in a setting like that. When I say hygiene, I mean you need to shower. You are not getting away with not showering. There's only a handful of Vikings that would dare not shower that long until cellmates would just drag them into the shower at that point, or would rough them up until they did, because one person can stink up a 16-man cell really fast, and the rest of us shower and don't want to deal with it. On the other hand, there are folks who will make their cot or their bunk bed with hospital corners. Hospital corner. You can bounce, a battery off of it. We didn't have nickels. All the clothes folded, hand washing their white prison t-shirts so they're crisp around the neck. I don't know. I treated jail like I do working at home. I mean, we all wear the same outfit. We all had the same outfit. The only difference was the quality of the t-shirts we had, because you could buy them on the commissary for an obscene price, or you get the prison issued ones, and that's all you had. Teeth brushing, essential. You go anywhere near anybody with morning breath, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a big problem. They're at least going to humiliate you in front of a group of your peers if you do that. What was the other one? It's just a very big change in grooming, washing, laundry, keeping things clean, no food in there. And it might seem backwards, sort of, because a lot of the guys I was with were living kind of transiently before that. And I'm thinking, like, why would guys that would, like, shoot up with puddle water and wake up behind dumpsters all of a sudden now be telling everybody else about hygiene and the importance there of it? Well, hygiene's important in a crowded, small space, yes. And I guess also, you don't have to live like that anymore. So, I don't know. So those were the different types of men that were in jail when I was in jail. And and the way it kind of fleshed out. And where I kind of found my niche among all of it was with the bewildered masses. I was nobody's favorite person, but I was on nobody's radar. I knew who I could fuck with. Knew who I couldn't fuck with. I was, like I said, well liked, but not really popular. I had a I had a truce with the Bloods. They were very nice. You know why they were nice? I think most of them were from New York. Gay people don't stand out as much in major urban centers because they've been part of the urban culture and landscape, I think, for a very long time. So when they said, "Oh, he's gay," they're like, gay people everywhere. They say their clients are gay. They're selling ecstasy to twink ravers, but they're like, our clients are gay. But it wasn't unusual to them. Any amount of flack I got was from the rockabillys who are locals and who were, hey, I don't care what you say about it. Just don't look at me. Don't shower with me. Don't, because I was so looking forward to it. That 48-inch waist just had me so hot and bothered. Especially when you're 5'2". Sounds like someone else I know. At any rate, I hope you enjoyed this little bit of insight. I hope you enjoyed a little bit of a story time. I have others, like I had mentioned. The other story I'm thinking about is my straight jailhouse crush. He was the alpha male in my hut, and he came and left 3 times during the 90 days I was there because he couldn't stay clean. He was going to rehab, coming back, and I would have been his ride or die if he had asked me to. I would have thrown away most of my life because he's in state prison now. But I would love to share with you the feelings that went into that, because that was the closest thing I had to a jailhouse romance fantasy in my head. He didn't know I existed. So thank you all for watching. Please do subscribe. Hit the like button and the bell on your way out so you get all the alerts. You can follow Mark and I on Facebook at SmokeySteveAndMarc, or on Instagram at SmokeySteveAndMarc, or on Twitter. Our handle's at SmokeySteveA. Our email address, our contact information is all listed down below as well. Thank you again, and we will catch up with all of y'all tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourself. Bye.